You know what, guys? I never got a chance to thank you for picking me up, even if I've been trapped under a dead body for 2 weeks. This horse thing's pretty cool, hey? What even is it? Like some kind of statue or something? Like a big carriage? Where are we going?
Who invited this guy? Somebody shot him. Get this
Oh,
guy out
okay.
of here. Let me tell
No
you.
need to get so sensitive. I'll just, sit here and do some editing in peace, if that's alright with you guys. That's right, this week I watched Christopher Nolan's mythological epic, The Odyssey, the most recent adaptation of Homer's 8th century BC poem, following Odysseus' long journey home after the Trojan Wars. Starring Matt Damon as Odysseus himself, Tom Holland as his son Telemachus, Anne Hathaway as wife Penelope, Robert Pattinson as suitor Antinous, Zendaya as the goddess Athena, and many more in a typically stacked ensemble cast. As someone who understands the fact this movie is one specific director's specific blank check vision of a mythological tale, I didn't actually have a problem with any of the artistic liberty this film took, in terms of the way the story was presented and how incredibly cinematic and atmospheric it felt and looked. Monsters, gods, and giant horses aside for a moment, it's clear Nolan seems to be going through a more reflective trend with his last few films. You can really see a through line that continues from Oppenheimer and Tenet's themes, which still works well with the historical context of the original poem, while providing an entertaining enough story to be enjoyed today. And yeah, I may not have known every single detail of the various tales from the Odyssey, but having grown up with some Greek mythology, this film did a very good job at showing just how threatening and dangerous those tales were, and reintroducing them to a new audience. Thanks to Nolan's largely practical approach and realistic mindset, the threats all appeared, well, real. Many have criticised his going over the top with realism in the past, doubly so for this mythological tale, but I think because you can see how much effort was put in, it never comes off as realism for the sake of laziness or budgetary reasons, and instead recontextualizes this myth to something more real and relatable, showing the practicalities of most of these fantastical stories. Even the terrifyingly practical body horror stuff seems entirely plausible, in a sickeningly good way. Speaking of sheer effort and passion, despite my doubts about some of the casting in this film, Matt Damon as Odysseus absolutely pulls it off perfectly. I was worried I wouldn't be able to see him as anyone else, but as the star of the show, he brings so much gravitas as every version of the character. The cunning, the arrogant, the remorseful, and the epic warrior. He plays off every character really well, and there's not a single moment where I doubted his performance. Similarly, Robert Pattinson once again disappears into a slimy villain role of Antinous, who manages to pull off some of the more hammy, clunky cartoon villain lines with such evil glee and enjoyment, and provides the film with some of its funniest moments and line deliveries. However, the same cannot be said for Tom Holland and Charlize Theron, who, despite their importances to the story, could not convince me of any of the emotions they were supposed to. Holland is stuck doing his awkward American accent, which possibly hinders his performance, but I could never take him seriously enough for the role required. Theron just seems bored in all of her scenes as well, and I really can't tell if that's either down to a lack of interest in the script or just the way her scenes were written, but she's easily the most forgettable in the whole cast. Although a massive shout out goes to the smaller yet incredibly impactful performances by Himesh Patel, Samantha Morton, and John Leguizamo, who are all perfect and memorable in their own ways. A great benefit of having such a varied and talented cast. As is the case with some of Nolan's other films though, some of the fight scenes were unfortunately shot and choreographed pretty awkwardly, especially the climactic fight in Ithaca at the end. Scenes like these lack some cohesion and geography, where you can never really tell where anyone is in relation to each other, and the wobbly, shallow focus IMAX shooting style left me a bit confused at times. However, none of these instances are bad enough to totally take you out of the movie, and the emotional climax is often where the real catharsis lies. And overall, this movie is one of the most cathartic in Nolan's catalogue. Despite coming from a story written 3,000 years ago, Christopher Nolan really makes it his own in this more realistic, somber approach. A handful of awkward fights and performances can't ruin the sheer epic scale and effort put on screen in every single other moment of this film, which means The Odyssey gets 8 thumbs up out of 10 from me. That's a wrap, so thanks for watching.